Hey guys, I wanted to talk a little bit today about something that I've recently experienced. So I saw this movie called Your Name, and it's, I guess, technically called Kimi no Nawa in Japanese. But I've always been a sucker for animation films. Ever since I was really young, I remember my dad bringing me to, this one particular location where he had to work on site at a client's house, and this client had a ton of animations, for whatever reason, really into, I guess, artsy stuff. And so I got into animation films back in the day, but I wanted to talk about what I've experienced during this movie. And so I want to talk a little about the movie and the different kinds of deja vu that I just looked up, and I can't really get this movie out of my head. I don't know why, because the themes and everything is just so vividly at home. And so I want to explain as far as I know, and I'll make more videos into this development when I can, because I'm just still blown away, and I'm telling people that I know to watch it to get their opinion. And so Your Name is a animation about two teenagers at, I guess, so it's about two teenagers who they just so happen to be in each other's body every other day. When they go to sleep, they end up in the other's body, right? These two young teenagers. And there's a comment though, right? So one kid, the girl, she lives in this rural, way very far away from the city, very very kind of Japanese culture oriented, and the dude lives in the city. And so they switch bodies. So they write each other back and forth once they discover it's not just a dream, that they're they're experiencing all this stuff. So that's really interesting to me. But then you find out 35% into the movie that, and there's a comet happening. All right, I'll explain this. I'll just keep going forward. So 35% within the movie, you realize that they're living in two different time periods, because what has happened is the girl is getting ready for this festival, and she dies. Everybody, pretty much a big portion of her town dies because they're at this festival, and there's this comet going over their town, and it lands on the festival. And so pretty much what it's all sequential. So what has happened is she's living 3 years in the past, and she's swapping bodies with this guy 3 years, who's her age, 3 years into the future. And so what you have going on is this kind of bridging of a time lapse. So you have a full circle thing going on where they're experiencing each other's lives, but at different times, at a different timeline, in different parts of the timeline of life, right? And they're getting to know each other, and they end up kind of falling for each other kind of through time and space, which is really kind of cool. And it seems like it's taken recently. This is a film, I think it was made in 2013. And I picked this movie up. I wanted to watch something to read because I'm just kind of out here, not much to do. I'm kind of on a hiatus, but I'm watching this film, and I had to pick it, and there's just so many that I could choose from. There's nothing. I was just scrolling through Google, and I just decided to pick something that I liked, and I thought it was interesting. So how the story goes is, not only are they separated by time and space, but the guy gets to finally merge back into, so there's just so much that happens, and it's hard to tell it all in 5 minutes, but pretty much from there, once they actually finally meet, right, when they can no longer communicate with each other, right? The dude wonders why that they're not switching bodies anymore, and it's because she died 3 years ago, right? But it's like around the same time frame. And so, but throughout like this part, like there's clues, right? Like she keeps talking about a comet that's coming, and he's like, "What comet? What?" And so like there's this kind of like tag between time spans. And so they finally meet. He doesn't know what's going on, so he goes to her hometown and discovers 3 years ago that there is like nothing that left, that there was something that happened. And he goes into the shrine, and he kind of something about the movie, which is like really kind of, it's just a movie, and like he drinks this thing, and he ends up being a part of her again. Like he gets to live one more day in the life of her, and every time they fall asleep, or one falls asleep, they switch bodies. So he knew that once he was back in her body, he knew that 3 years ahead of time in her body, she would be there in his body at the shrine. So they converge at something called Twilight, where they can in the movie they can see each other for like a couple of minutes, because Twilight in this movie is something where two different realms can intertwine and connect and communicate. And so they finally get to meet each other, you know, even though they're from two different time frames, even though she should technically be alive if it wasn't for the meteor. You know, they would know each other, but they're communicating. She's dead, but he's alive, kind of. And so the goal is to kind of save the town now, and they do end up saving the town, and then she goes to where she's always wanted to go, which is Tokyo, which is where the guy's from, right? And there's just something about how the whole movie is kind of, it's like there's so many themes going on that I kind of interrelay in my own life, that I've always interrelated in my own life. And when I saw this movie, I felt like this strong sensation in my heart when I watched it. Like, wow, like I felt this before. Like I know this situation before, somewhere, somehow. And it was like a common, there's 3 different deja vus. There's one where it's emotion, there's like an emotional like experience that you've experienced before, and there's like a physical experience, and then there's another one where like you've been somewhere before, right? So I just thought like it was so crazy, because at the end of the movie, you know, you're hoping that they meet each other, and like it's crazy because at the end of the movie, like 15 minutes before, it's like 5 years into their future, because now she's alive. But it's so crazy though, because during the movie, every time they disconnect, they start to forget that each of them had existed. So when they had meet up and converged at that one point, at that Twilight, they needed to write their names down on a piece of paper. And not on a piece of paper, on their hands. And he had wrote "I love you," which didn't really kind of give the best clue to remember him by. And she was about to write down her name on his hand, and she warped out, or she instantly like warped out. And like these themes are really crazy, because on one hand you have this theme of at the end of the movie where it all comes together, where 5 years later she's alive, but they have totally forgotten who each other are, but they just have this lingering feeling of that they're either searching for something or that something is missing, right? And that in some shape or form that they're connected or binded through that experience, even before that whole experience, that it's just started happening. And then you have this other idea of that, like of the fact that she has, and they both like this deja vu, like this whole theme of like all these different kinds of deja vu. Like, I've experienced this, I've been here, but I know this place, but why is it so important to me? I've never been here. And it's just so alarming to me, because the ending scene is really like the ending scene reminds me of something that has happened to me, where not even 3 or 4 years ago, All right, so I'll explain the ending scene is they're on a train, right? 5 years ago, they're both in the same city. They start running across each other, and then, but like they're just walking, they don't realize it, and then there's like this instance where like they feel like that something's there, and like it was too late, and it started with the dude seeing the girl's friends from the rural town, but then he starts to pass her a couple times, and then on the train they're both leaning against the window in the train. There's two trains that come very close, and then they're looking through each other's window, and then they see each other, and then they instantly know. And this is just so weird because I've had a couple of instances where that's happened to me, and like the first, and so let me explain like the rest, right? So after that they go to, like, they get off the train after like seeing each other, and like it's like a spark, like they realize that's the person, and then like it ends with like them running around some streets to find like the other person, and then they're at a stairway, which is actually a real place in real life, which I may want to go to, which is kind of cool. But they go to the stairwell, one's on the bottom, one's on the top, they pass each other, and then when he gets to the top, when she's walking back down, you think like they're just gonna walk by, and he goes, hey, like, I think we know each other. And then she was like, I think I know you. I think we somehow know each other too. And it's just such a tragedy. In my mind, throughout the whole movie, I'm thinking it's such a tragedy that not only like in this movie, right, where like they forget each other, no matter how much they try to remember, they get really upset when they forget at the end, like during the end, before before the village is saved from the meteor. They both try to remember, and they both forget within like 5 minutes, and it's so tragically fascinating to me how they forget, and there's this like lingering theme of forgetfulness with an event, and so at the end, like they remember their name, so it kind of goes through, but it's deranged almost how the protagonists, right, the guy and the girl, they found each other, and they've experienced like a couple of days of like situations together, and they don't remember. They only remember when they do converge that they are important to one another. And it's so weird to me because it's like, what if that happens in life? Like, I'll share my experience. On my birthday this year, I was at a bar, and I felt, and this girl for my birthday, I was with some friends, and this girl had walked by with her friends, she had walked by with her friends, and she bumped into me, and I looked, and we looked at each other, and like, though I was kind of tipsy, it could have just been one of those situations where it was like, wait, do I know you? But like, it was like a strange feeling of, I know you, and that was it. And then my friends pulled me away, her friends pulled her away, and then we left. But who knows, right? But then there's another situation where it reminds me of when in the movie they were looking at the very end, they're off the train looking for each other when they got off, in the streets, right, trying to find the two connecting streets, the connecting street. I had met this girl on Tinder, of all places, and there's this whole build up. It was all through text, and there's a theme like there's like a cell phone. They're using cell phones throughout the whole movie to communicate, and they can never get service when they actually want to call or text each other, right? So, obviously it's weird, but it's kind of appropriate because they're in two different time periods. But I was texting, and I was getting to know this girl and calling her and whatever. And when I finally come to meet her, like, we're running around streets trying to get to the right location where to find each other. And then when we do find each other in the streets of Manhattan, and this is so crazy too. This is actually weird because when I think about it, I was on kind of on a hilly kind of road. So it's weird how like at the end scene of this movie, there was like a hill, like there's like a stairway, but for me it was a hill, and she was at the top, just like in the movie, and at the bottom, it was just crazy because in both situations, we were sporadically looking for each other, and in the movie they were, and then they finally do, and like that's just it, and then they aligned, and it's so weird. And like that wasn't even the first situation. That wasn't my first idea with this movie. When I first saw this movie, I didn't even know what to think, because my first mindset now is like, I barely remember that girl's name that I just mentioned, the girl that I had met, and that was a very profound experience for me. But it was short lived. But I really remember her name, so it kind of like piques my interest, right? What if we forget things, and or meet people, or people come into our life and they're in the same proximity or something, and we don't meet them just by chance, or because of chance we do meet them. That's just so crazy to me. It's crazy for me to think that. And not only that, but there's this common theme in my life that, I am, like I do a lot of coaching, when it comes to relationships and dating. Part of that has been because I just, I've just experienced a lot. I've dated a lot. I've had a lot of interesting experiences, and I always feel like I'm searching for something, even though that could just be psychological or whatever. It's still really cool, and it just begs the question. It's just like, what if, like, there are just specific people in life that we bind to metaphysically, parapsychologically, spiritually, and, not by like some cord like in the movie, not like by some ribbon or something, something from like a movie, but like what if we are somehow connected to just particular people? And it's just, for me, like, there's always been this thing of like a fear of missing out on people for whatever reason. Like, I don't even understand why, but I've always taken like an experience on, like, if I was gonna go on a date, like, yeah, I should go just to see what happens. Like, I feel like part of me kind of knows that there is somebody out there, and it's just like, I don't want to miss out on that one person by freaking chance. And maybe it's just my intuition going freaking crazy, like, oh, this really means something to you. But I was just really compelled by this movie, just like the theme of not just love and time and space, or love through time and space, right? Two different time periods, even though they're 3 years apart. But this feeling of deja vu, or maybe like living through somebody else's body, or in a dream, which has happened to me, by the way, even though it wasn't a woman like the movie. It was just somebody else, and I just vaguely remember it. It could have been a dream, it could have been something that I've seen, but I don't know. But it would still be really fascinating. It's just all fascinating to me. It's like I honestly believe that, like, when you look into a bird's eye view down at the world, there are just, if somebody could do that and just telescopically laser focus themselves onto people's lives, that would just be so interesting, right? To watch how people may slip by others, or people who would be more important than one another. And it kind of like begs the question, if not the dude in the movie had taken his initiative to visit, would the movie would have existed at all? He wouldn't have gone to the shrine, had one more chance to make things right 3 years ago for, to save that village. He would have not had that girl now, if not for just one spontaneous adventure. And that begs the question. It's like, my point is, it's the little actions that we commit to in life that create that change. And when you think about it, it's really just that one little action that can be the difference between meeting that person on the street corner to say hi because you think that they're interesting. Oh shoot, that bug. Or, there's just been countless situations where I meet somebody, like in a coffee shop, or just to get to know somebody. There's just so many people in the world. And not only that, right? And we take this this whole love thing, right? People say like the other half of me, and I'm searching for my one true love, or the one and only. And I don't necessarily believe in that kind of mindset. I do believe that there are multiple there, if not multiple people that we can fall in love with, not even as more than friends. Maybe they're just friends, or they could be romantic partners. But I believe that not, and this is the crazy thing. So people believe in that, right? But most people marry people within their own culture or society, and there is countless of other countries and societies and cultures out there. There's just so much out there. So who are you? You know, it's like without doing that exploration, how could you even, you know, settle down and say this is somebody for me? Even though it may be like a really great scenario or situation, you may find somebody amazing. You know, it may just be that fate just has it that that person isn't within your own society that you marry. But who's to say that there's somebody within all the other societies and or countries out there, right? Like if I go to Australia, will I will I find somebody, or find somebody just as equally as amazing to add into my life, you know? And so it's like that's the thing with life, you know. You really don't I'm just gonna wait for this helicopter to go over. Sorry. But you really don't know like what's gonna happen in life, and it's like that person could be right your next door neighbor this whole time, or they could, you know, like I'll give you an example. The first girl I ever loved was you know, a girl that I went to college with. She was the ex she was the best friend of my first girlfriend ever. And my first girlfriend had never introduced me to her for whatever reason. And then I met her best friend, like formally, not just at a party, but formally, at the college I was going to, and it just rocked my world because it was just by chance, particular situations where she wasn't gonna go that semester, and I was going through things at that time as well, where I might have not gone, and I didn't even have class that day, but I went anyway, and her class was canceled, and she had went to the same location, and it makes you, like, that was the first time I really put a really big stake in intuition, because never in my life have I been in a situation where so many particularities of how just the right time in the right place. And I do always believe that we're always at the right time and at the right place for everything in our life, but it's a matter of taking advantage of the situations and experiences that are kind of presented in front of us. And it's just so weird how things like that happen. I'm going to start walking around because I want to stand up. But yeah, those were my thoughts on the movie, and I'm just still totally overwhelmed. Like, my heart is like fluttering every time I watch it, especially the ending. You know, the director was just really good at creating the movie, and I really recommend it. It's called Your Name, or Kimi no Nawa, in I guess Japanese. And I don't know. I'm really amped up. It's really inspired me, the movie, because I really do believe that there is multiple people out there for us, and I believe that maybe there are past lives, and that there are just people that we will run across, even if it's for an instance, or 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of it, or a month, or a year, or forever. I believe that there are people out there that may just intertwine with you or with me, and that will make all the difference that somehow within our own life. And it's just crazy to me, because I really do believe that situations like that really do exist. Not necessarily the ones from the movie, but the by chance ones, the time and space one. There may be a girl in fucking Russia, or fucking Switzerland, or the Ukraine, or something. There's somebody out there, not just in the United States, that could be for me, but just within a different country, there could be somebody, not just for me, but for everybody out there in the world. And I believe that's why traveling is so important, even though I haven't done that much. It's just something that I really need to do once I get everything in order. But I just want to, that's kind of a conquest that I've always kind of been on. I'm always searching, and I've had that theme for so long in my life, and not necessarily love, but just the theme of meeting people that just connect with me. And I'm still contemplating it. It's still on my mind. So I just wanted to share this with you guys, but hope you guys like this video. It's a little different. But yeah, I may talk about this some more in a future video. But this has really inspired me. So I do want to write a poem about this song. I'm going to get back into writing a little bit. I would definitely check out my current writing that I do on Medium. You can just type in my name. It's in the description somewhere. But check me out on Medium and relevant places. I try to do live events as much as I can. But I would watch a movie and get back to me and tell me what you guys think. This movie is just so relevant still, especially in the day and age where we're just starting to meet more and more people. Technology is coming out where you can understand somebody else's language just from using like a headset. It's just crazy stuff right now, and I'm just glad to be where I am to experience all this. So thanks for tuning in for this long, guys, for whoever watches this, and I'll see you next time, okay? Nope. Trying to finish.